Yo guys, what's going on? It is Ryuga with another video, and this time we're going to be doing something a little different today. So as a lot of you may know, True Talent and Otz and a lot of the DVD community are going into a discussion about what it means to win a game of Dead by Daylight, and also what it means to be a viable killer. So I'm making this video to share my own personal opinion as well as the result of my own experiment that I did with the Legion, which a lot of people consider to be the worst killer in the game. So please remember, before I start talking, it's not okay to harass anyone, even if you disagree with their opinions. So make sure you guys respect Tru and Otz's opinions as well as my own, and refrain from leaving any insults in the comments. But yeah, with that said, let us just jump into it. So the results that I got pretty much reflected almost the exact same thing as Tru and Otz got in a majority of their games as well as mine. So I'm not going to go into every little detail because it won't really matter, in retrospect to the main point that we're going to be making. But most of the maps that I personally got were pretty bad, and almost all the games, though, we did just fine. So the build that I used for Legion was Thanatophobia, Ruin, Pop Goes the Weasel, and Barbecue and Chili, and we also interchanged Barbecue and Chili for Dying Light. The add-ons that we used as well were mostly green add-ons. We used a lot of Stolen Sketchbook and Legion Pin. We also swapped out Stolen Sketchbook for Mural Sketch, and we also used Iridescent Button with Stolen Sketchbook as well. Most of the things yielded the same results. So the final total that we got is Merciless. We got 7 Merciless, 4 Ruthless, 4 Brutals, and 1 Entity Displeased. Alright, so now it's time to talk about how many of these games that I played did I actually, quote, win. So True Talent and Otz both have differing opinions on what is considered a win. True Talent believes that as you need to pip in order to actually, quote, win, because the goal of the game is to get enough emblems to please the entity. Therefore, pipping is considered a victory. Now, Otz, on the other hand, he believes that as long as you 4K or 3K if they get the hatch or, execute, then that is considered a victory. So according to True Talent, I won 11 times because I got 7 Merciless as well as 4 Ruthless. Those are pips. And Otz, I won 14 games. I consider maybe 15 games because one of them was Asylum, and I got Ruthless and 2 kills, even though all the gens got done, 2 escaped. So it was a close call, but hard to say whether he would consider that a victory or not. So yeah, those are the differing opinions. True Talent thinks I won 11 times. Otz thinks I won 14 times. Now, what exactly do I believe to be a victory? Well, personally, I feel like there are different ways to win. So I think a Merciless victory is a better victory than a Ruthless victory. However, I think that if you get at least 2 kills in a game, then you did pretty good, and I would call that a win in my book. Some wins are considered better than other wins in the eyes of the entity, but in terms of victories, I just think that if you kill at least 2 of the survivors, you did your part as killer, and you get to call it a day. Now, what actually goes into, deciding how a Dead by Daylight match is going to go? A big deciding factor is the map, but, what killer you pick, how much does that matter? Does it matter how, quote, viable the killer is, or does it depend on what add-ons you bring? Personally, I believe that the biggest factor in Dead by Daylight is the skill of the survivors you're going against. There are not a lot of good survivors in red ranks, and I prove this because if you want to look at the games that I played, I did live stream this, and most of the survivors I went against, I was at red ranks, were fucking just potatoes. So this is another example of how rank does not equal skill. Rank does equal time played, which correlates to skill, but this does not necessarily mean that the higher your rank is, the better player you are. So what exactly happened in all of these games, and what I assume happened in True Talent's games, and what I assume happened in Otz games? Did we get, rank 1 sweat squads, the gods of DBD? No. Exactly, we did not. We got pretty much just casual players, people who want to try fun loops, and sometimes they get greedy because they want to see, they want to try new things, they want to, test certain things to see if they'll work. Not everybody in rank 1 or red ranks is going to be, the best survivor in the world. That's why when we talk about viability, we have to think of the skill of the survivors. You know, a lot of killers, I think all killers, are viable at red rank. However, most killers against a sweat squad can get absolutely annihilated. Now, because killers can get annihilated by a sweat squad, does that mean that they are not viable, just completely unplayable? No, because 99.999% of these games are not against super good survivors. Most survivors aren't even like great. They're just average at the game when you get to red ranks, you know? As long as you're a good killer with mind games, more of the time you're going to probably win as long as your build is, you know, decent. And this kind of brings me to my main point. Now the question that I had, you know, is Legion viable? Well, now that we see Wraith is viable, now that we see Trapper is viable, well, now Legion, who, quote, is the worst killer in the game according to a lot of people, clearly through these results is 100% viable. But what does that actually mean? You know? I think all killers are viable. You know, period. They all have the ability to do this, and they all have the ability to do this very well. It doesn't matter what killer you're going to be playing. More than likely, you're going to 4K like many games in a row, or at least every other game. You know, it's going to be a fair chance of winning. And that's one of the main things about Dead by Daylight, is people make this into such a big competition. What killer is better than what killer, you know? Who's the best? But that doesn't matter. What matters is, you know, you pick whatever killer, you go into a match, can you win or can you not win, you know? You test your skills with that killer and you have fun. That is, in my opinion, the most important part of Dead by Daylight. Not, you know, trying to argue what's viable, what needs to be buffed, you know. Certain killers do better than other killers, yeah, but all killers are completely viable and they all can win the game. So, I think the point that I'm trying to make is that it doesn't matter what rank you are or what killer you play. All of these killers are completely viable. Dead by Daylight is a 1v4 game split into multiple 1v1s. Most of the time it comes down to outskilling the other user regardless of how you feel about other killers. If you put your mind to it, pretty much any killer will shine. I do think Otz and Tru have fine opinions, but I also think that going to show how different killers are, quote, viable is kind of irrelevant, because all killers are viable. And we know this because that's just how Dead by Daylight is designed. But yeah, hopefully this wasn't too long. I just wanted to get in on the conversation and share my own opinion. So all killers are viable with their own builds, and that's just how, you know, the game is. Sometimes you lose, and that's just how the game works. Some killers have easier ways to down survivors than others, but all killers have the ability to do something different that others cannot. They all have their own skill set, and that makes them uniquely viable. Other than that, that's all I wanted to say. Thanks for taking the time to watch, and if you enjoyed the conversation, feel free to subscribe and hit the bell for notifications, or join the Discord and be part of my community. Hope you guys have a good rest of your day, night, morning, evening, whatever time it is, wherever you live. And I will see you guys in the fog. Peace. I appreciate you guys watching.